Okay, so we've designed our workspace, set that up, saved it so we can come back to it if we want to. Now I wanted to quick show you, if we're going into the pages, of course InDesign takes a half a second for it to decide to finally come back up and working. But here, this page layout, or the page palette over here, these are facing pages. So I wanted to really quick show you what it looks like if I go to document setup and I turn off those facing pages, what it ends up looking like. So then you just get a bunch of stacked pages. So that's for yearbook that doesn't work very well that way. And so I'm going to do Control Z on that one. But if I was to add one more page over here and I put it up here on the top, then I get this, and I can move these down over here, move page 3 down here, page 2 over there, but it's not going to move because I told it I wanted it to start on page 2. So I won't put a 1 page up there by itself. So I'm actually just going to go and take that off. So, so that's how all of that works as far as setting up the document. Now I wanted to go into what some of these tools and stuff are over here and what they do. When you design a page, I'm going to teach you those kind of things as we build this page. So anytime you design a page, you should divide it into thirds, more or less. It doesn't have to be precise, but it should be more or less. So if I'm going to take this down here, you see, I grab up in my ruler, and if I come down here, this little ruler, this guide comes across with me. So I'm going to establish where my third is. But you see that when I pull it down over here and I'm on top of this page, it only will leave it on this page. But if I come over here, then it drops it all the way, it takes it all the way across the entire spread. That's what it's called when the two pages are together as a spread. So you want to create a horizontal eyeline, and this is what's going to give us a guide. And we want to drop this in between these rows. So it needs to go in one of these little thin, narrow gutters. So it needs to be someplace in here or someplace down across here. You don't want to go too low down here because then it doesn't give you any room to put anything down here on this part of the page. So we're going to kind of go, well, I like it always on the top. Not always the same thing, but so I'm going to drop it about right here. So you create this horizontal eyeline, and then you also need to create a vertical eyeline. So again, out from the ruler, we're going to click and drag from the ruler, and this one doesn't matter because it's going to stay on the same page. It's not going to go across the whole spread. So most of the time, your text blocks for body copy, which is the big story, need to be about 5 columns wide. So about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need to be at least this far over here. But that's not really a third, and we need to divide this part into the horizontal in thirds. It doesn't need to be a third of this page and then a third of this page. It's a third of the entirety of the spread. So it's going to be plus or minus right about in maybe about here. Now, once you've established those, again, notice that we're putting it in the middle of the gutter, here. Now, as you hover over this, you can see these changing. That it says, okay, if you want to move it, you can pick it up and move it. But I don't want to move it, so I want to go up here to View, Grids and Guides, and we're going to lock the guides so it doesn't move on us anymore. So those are established. We know that's where our horizontal and vertical eyeline. Where that axis is where your dominant image is. And your dominant image should be 2 times bigger than any other picture that's on that spread. It can bleed off the edge. It doesn't have to. But if it goes past the gutter, this is the main gutter of the whole spread. If it goes past the gutter where the 2 pages come together, then it needs to really go over here. Don't bring it over so it's like 1 or 2 columns in here. You need to bring it all the way over here. And you want to be careful when you paste a picture on here that you don't have people's faces right in the gutter. It needs to be a whole face over here or a whole face over here, but we don't want any part of the face on the opposite side. So I'm going to go and draw a picture box to what's going to go in here, which gives you a little bit of instruction on what's going on in here. These are 2 selection options that you have, and these will be made more evident when we have a box to be able to deal with. This is a page tool. We don't use that a whole lot. This is a gap tool. We can use the transform tool a little bit better on that. This guy right here, the content collector, I honestly really don't know why they even have it. The text tool, definitely will use the type tool. You might use the line tool, the pen tool, and all of the little options in here. If you've ever used Adobe Illustrator, these probably look familiar to you. Use it a little bit more in InDesign when you're doing a text wrap. The pencil tool, I can't really say that I've ever really used the pencil tool other than to maybe draw a quick little line or something like that. Take the fill stroke off or take the fill color off and maybe simplify the line. And then I go over here to the line tool and I might put an arrow or a tip or something like that on it. But I honestly don't really use it a whole lot because I just don't have a purpose for lines in here like that. So but these two we definitely use. So the rectangle tool is, you see the part with the X inside of it. That's where a picture goes, a picture frame tool. Rectangle F, if you hover over the top of it, you'll see what these quick keys are. The faster you learn the quick keys, the faster you're going to become in any of these applications, and a lot of them are universal. Can't say that the frame tool is one that's universal. So we're going to go right up here, and the left side of your box for a picture frame needs to be on the left side of a column. The top of your box needs to be on the top of a row. These are rows. These are columns. And the little skinny ones in between are gutters. So we want to go to the top and the left, and we're going to drag. We're going to click and drag. And remember, I think I said at one point, if you go beyond the purple, you need to go all the way to the red. So likewise on the right-hand side, your text box or your image box should go all the way to the right side of a column and to the bottom of a row. And if we're going to bleed it, we're going to go take it all the way to the bleed line. And we want this to be right up on that edge. Now, some quick keys that you might need to get used to using on Adobe InDesign. If you hold down the space bar, see what happens to the mouse. You can click and move it however you want. You hold down the space bar and the control key, it turns into a plus, and you can click and drag around where you want to go, and you have your space bar again. Here, this is the difference between these two selection tools. The selection tool, if you hover over it, you see V, or if you're inside of a text box, then you can click the escape key to get out of the text box and go back to the selection tool. Or you can use the direct select tool. And look at what happens to these different anchor points, the differences between the selection. So with a V is the selection tool. I can click this and change it and move it as I need it to. The direct select lets me get a hold of just one anchor point. I'll click off of it and come back onto it, and I can take it and do this kind of stuff with it. But the V key does not let you do that. It just resizes it. So I'm going to come over here and actually want to zoom in on these things and make sure that my boxes go right up on that. Zoom in plus into that. And then it goes right up on that edge. And again, you bleed. If you're going to take it past the purple lines, you're going to take it all the way off the page. Okay, so if I want to put, you can put colors and stuff in this box, but I don't really suggest it. What we do use with Yearbook on this is we put a stroke on it. So we might put a black stroke on it. But let's go look over here at what our different stroke options are. We don't want this to become a significant part of your design, the stroke. It's just simply to create what's called a wireframe. So we want to be able to see what it actually looks like without any content in it. So what we do is we change the stroke weight to 0.25, and we change the alignment of the strokes. If we zoom in really, really far, you see that it rides right on top of the line right now. So we want it to actually be on the inside. Now, what this does is it makes it so that it doesn't necessarily go right up on that corner. So we want that to be on the inside so that guides for this box are actually on the outside edge of that corner. Let's scroll. I'm holding the space bar so I can click and drag. The same thing over here. And zoom in here. We want to pull this off just a little bit so we can snap it back up and make sure that it's right there in that corner. Another quick key you're going to want to use is Control 0. That puts that page in the middle of the page. Control 1, and it goes to 100%, but Control Alt, hold both of those two down, and click 0, and it forces the double page spread to go into the page. So now we want to place a picture inside of here. So we're going to go up to File and Place. And you're going to want to know where your pictures are because you don't want to be moving your pictures around. I'm going to suggest that you find a place on your Google Drive where your pictures are going to live so that you can be able to just drop them simply and easily. I'm going to use one off of our storage drive. And I'm going to go in here. There's your April photo shoots that we did. And here's some that I did. This was an assignment that the kids had to be able to go out and take something other than people because that's pretty much all we ever take. So I got this little butterfly thing here. So I'm going to take this picture over here, and if you notice, there's this little circle thing in here. And if you click out of it, if you click on the box and you're just going to move the box itself, you have to think of this as a frame, much like if you have a frame that you're going to hang on a wall and you're going to put a picture in. But this picture is not the same proportion as what this frame box is. So I'm going to right click on it. You see that you get this outside edge. This is the photograph itself. So if I bring it over here, you can see it over here. And I'm not going to lie to you. This will be frustrating until you get a hang of it. So you can click and drag on this. If you're not on it and you click on the box, it will give you this. But you have to click back on it to be able to get a hold of the frame or to get a hold of the photograph itself. So if I want to enlarge this, I can hold down the Shift key and grab a corner. But if I want to take this photograph with the frame and I want to enlarge the two of them together, you have to hold down the Control and the Shift. And Control gives you control of the box and Shift makes it proportional. And Control Shift then enlarges the two of them. Now watch this again. If you hold Control Shift and then you click and hold, look what happens to my arrows on here. Again, I'm going to do Control Shift and click and hold. And when it turns to those whites, then you can see what's happening on the inside of that box. So if I wanted to zoom in just on that butterfly, again, I don't want it right in that gutter, so I might want it off to the side. So we're going to click and drag. So it's over here on this side. And I might just want to adjust this, but if I move it, then I move it over to the side. And here's one that everybody really likes to see. If you hit W on your keyboard, it makes all of these grids go away. And that so far is what our layout looks like. And I will come back